Hey man, you should totally build a house on the side of a mountain by yourself, in the middle of nowhere. You could do it. Are you insane? Don't do it. Hold my beer. Hey, it's Jeremy, Guildbrook Farm. Welcome to The Dirt. The Dirt is a semi-irregular series that we do where we talk about why we think what we think and why we do what we do. And today I'm going to answer a viewer question that was in the comments of the last video, which I thought was a very good question and warranted its own video rather than me trying to type out an answer. And that comes from Dave W. So Dave's question was, how do you cope with burnout? Do you have a strategy or do you just roll with it and take time off when circumstance provides? And he also asked, back when you decided there were no decent people to run this project, had you any idea of how much and how hard it was going to be, and what advice would you give your younger selves about it? See, excellent question, and there was a lot there to unpack, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So the thing is, I am on a budget here, but I'm fortunate that I'm not on a fixed schedule with a hard deadline. If that were the case, I would definitely be 10 times more stressed out about this whole project, and I probably wouldn't be doing it. I mean, this experience has been stressful enough, and there have been many times where we've discussed just giving up and going and doing something else. What we naively thought would only take us about a year has now taken us almost 5 years, including all the planning and prepping for all this stuff. Fire. So if you're pretty new to the channel, when we bought this property 5 years ago, we intended to hire a builder and build a homestead. But after months of searching and endless emails, phone calls, unresponsive contractors, my switch just flipped and everything changed. We were tired of waiting on other people, and I was determined to make this project happen no matter what it took. So I threw everything out the window that we had planned up to that point and decided I was going to be my own general contractor. So I sat down, spent the entire winter of 2018 in front of the computer, and I designed this. This is the 6th and final house design I came up with since moving to this property. Yeah, I designed 6 entire houses. We considered a log home and then quickly threw that out the window. Then we thought about traditional stick framing. Then we looked for modular plans. Couldn't get them delivered up here. Then I thought I really would like to build a timber frame house, but that was pretty impractical based on materials and available labor. Finally came up with this ICF deal, and that's what we have. I knew it had to be something that I could build and finish myself if I had to, because it was looking pretty likely that that was going to be the case, and I was going to be spending the next foreseeable future just working my ass off. And I don't have much of an ass to begin with. Now keep in mind, I don't have any prior construction experience really at all. I mean, I've dabbled in some projects here and there and built a few small things, but I knew this was going to be basically jumping off a cliff without a parachute. And if that wasn't enough, I was going to spend all kinds of time filming, editing, uploading, so you and Dave could sit there and eat popcorn and watch this whole thing unfold in the comfort of your own home. So back to Dave's question, how do I cope with burnout? Do I have a strategy or do I just roll with it? Now, this is an excellent question, Dave, because I think we all deal with burnout once in a while. I know I do, especially if you're like crazy like me. And do you push yourself to the edge of insanity just to see what's there? I do. So my answer is yes, Dave, I do have a strategy, and that is just to roll with it. So you answered your own question. Because after a lifetime of trying, I've created a lifestyle where almost all of my time is my own to spend as I see fit. And that's huge. I don't have to punch a clock. I'm not beholden to the whims or policies or politics of an employer. And that's a big deal. So it becomes much easier to manage stress and burnout when you're basically your own boss. Now that comes with its own set of stresses, but after a while you kind of pace yourself. Now don't get me wrong, it does happen. I do get stressed out and burned out, but the difference is most 99% of the time it's because I'm doing it to myself. And that's a big difference. So when that happens, I take a day off. Sometimes I take a week off. Rain days are really helpful in a construction project because then you don't have to feel quite as guilty. I mean, you can't control the weather, but also at this point in my life and in my experience, if I take more than a day off, I get all anxious and twitchy because I'm not making any progress. So I'm kind of my own worst enemy. But after a while, like when you're in this routine of discipline or whatever you call it, managing stress just becomes easier. You just roll with it. If you're wondering about this pile of rocks, we couldn't move it. It was 2,200 pounds and the front end loader of the tractor just couldn't pick it up to get it over there with the rest of the stuff that I'm moving today. So this is a do it by hand deal. Now back to Dave's other question. Back when you decided that there were no decent people to help figure this out and do this for you, did you have any idea how hard this was going to be? Not really. But I was as ready as I was ever going to be. Cliff, no parachute, check. I may be a masochist and definitely too much of a perfectionist, but this whole project is a combination of what I believed to be the best materials and the best methods that I could put together and pull off. So we used things like insulated concrete forms to make 8-inch thick reinforced concrete walls. We did 2x6 traditional stick framing, open cell spray foam in the attic for the roof insulation, a unvented attic, so it's all conditioned space, steel lifetime shingles on the roof, stucco on the outside, and this 50-ton wraparound monstrosity of a porch. But the whole point of all of it was maximum durability, minimum maintenance. And you just don't really get that with most stick-built houses that a builder is going to come and do for you. So why did we do this? Why the hell did we do something like this? Am I insane? A little bit. Why not just do a stick-built? Why not just do a log home? Why not just do a timber frame or a modular? Well, the answer is because we could. This is a huge bucket list item for me, and it always has been. Now, I'm no stranger to huge, complicated projects. I mean, I spent my entire career doing it for other employers. But this is a little unique and different in that it was the biggest, most complicated, most expensive thing I'd ever undertaken. And I am 100% accountable and on the hook and responsible for everything that happens. Every little detail is on me. If I make a mistake, it's my time and it's my money, not some employer who's writing me a paycheck. So yeah, that's a little stressful. Can be. And to put that into a little bit further perspective, once you get into a project as far as we've gotten into this, at a certain point, you're completely, there's no turning back. There's no quitting, there's no do-overs, and you could potentially jeopardize your entire financial future if you're not careful. But, I mean, I'd pretty much done everything I'd ever set out to do up to that point. And yes, I was scared. Still am a little bit. But, hell, you only live once. And life's too short, so get off the couch. One thing I wasn't expecting and didn't plan for, I guess no one could have expected, was the recent events with the whole pandemic. I mean, the economy is screwed, the supply chain is screwed, the labor market is screwed, gas prices and housing prices are ridiculous. Finding affordable housing is becoming more and more difficult, so nobody planned on that. Remember all those prepper videos we made a couple years ago? Well, it's times like these when everything is just melting down. All those things come in handy. There are a lot of people out there who were not prepared, and they're suffering the consequences, and they have my sympathy, but those of you who were prepared, you understand why it's important. But I digress. Back to Dave's second part of Dave's question, and that was, now that you've jumped off this cliff without the parachute, what advice would you give your younger self? I asked Jamie about this, and she was like, simple, don't do it. I mean, unless you are mental, masochistic, driven, patient, flexible, diplomatic, able-bodied, financially capable, and your partner has those same traits, if you're married or have a significant other, it'll cost you more than most people would believe it's worth. Emotionally, physically, financially, it's a big deal. We've had so many moments of drama and pain that I've forgotten most of them just because they became part of the routine and part of daily life, I guess. I mean, you've seen most of them. When we first moved here, we had frozen water pipes and screwed up spring, ran out of water. It took us a couple weeks to get that rectified, and we were not expecting that. So I just have to keep pushing, you know? You gotta get it in your head. Every day, get up, grind it out, get something done, check one more thing off the list. I mean, it's literally kind of like Stockholm Syndrome, and it changes you. It changes your whole perspective on life and what's important to you and what should be important to you. Well, I mean, if you're at a point in your life where you're bored and feeling unchallenged and you want to venture off somewhere and find yourself, and you really want to see what you're capable of, go ahead, get off the couch. I mean, you don't have to try and build your own house on the side of a mountain in the middle of nowhere like I am, but find something. I mean, do all the research, prepare yourself as best you can, and when the time comes to jump off your own cliff without the parachute, just do it. I mean, you'll either sink or swim, but it'll definitely change your life, and you won't be bored. I mean, that's really the only advice I could give, because it really depends on you, and I'm not you. There are days when I feel like this project is just too much, too big, too expensive, too much work, too much stress. I mean, what the hell have we gotten ourselves into? One person can't reasonably expect to pull this off and still maintain their sanity or their relationship. And then there are days when my optimism kicks in and I can envision myself living here with a beer, a beverage, looking out over the valley, and everything on my to-do list that day is completely optional. And those are the good days. So I really can't tell you whether all this is going to be worth it after having gone through it, knowing what I know now, because we haven't finished yet. We are this close, but this isn't horseshoes, and this project is still unfinished, and I need to get back to work. Thanks for the great question in the comments, Dave. If any of you have questions, leave them in the comments and maybe I'll make a whole video about it. I'm gonna get these rocks put up. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.